Hey guys, it's Rebecca. So today I'm going to be doing my top 5 favourite classics. I'm going to split this video into 2 parts, so today's just going to be the part 1. So another time I'll film a part 2 because I just have so many favourite classics. Like, I can't really order them in order of preference because I just love so many classics. I consider so many classics my favourite classics, so I need to do a video that mentions at least 10 of them, or else I just won't be able to fit half of them in. Literally, like, there's just probably more than 10, but I just wanted to show you like some of the classics that I read because I feel like I've been talking about YA so much on my channel recently that I just wanted to kind of show that there's loads of classics that I love, and I do love reading and talking about classics, so I decided to just make like 2 videos talking about that. Part 2 will be probably in like a couple of weeks, just to split it up a wee bit, but I just thought it was a good idea to mention what classics that I actually do love so more people can talk about them with me, because then they'll know that I love these books. So there's loads of books that I've already mentioned loads on my channel on this list. Like, you probably already know this, but I don't know if you know officially that they are some of my absolute all-time favourites. So I'm just going to get going with the list and show you what classics I absolutely love. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I absolutely love this book. I've never read it out of this edition, but it's so pretty because my other one got ruined in the rain, which is just so annoying, but I got this new edition of it because it's one of my all-time favourites, so I just had to have a physical copy of it. I love this story. It's better probably if I don't explain the plot because I'm just so bad at explaining plots and everybody will probably be like, that absolutely sounds terrible, but I absolutely love this book and I just think this is such a unique story and I've never read anything like it. I love Daphne du Maurier's writing as well. It's absolutely beautiful. Like, every book that I've read by her, even the ones that I didn't like, the writing is still beautiful because she's just such an amazing writer, one of the best writers in the world. Like, I know that I just need to read all of the books that she's ever written because she's just such a good writer. But this is definitely my favourite out of the books that I've read by her, and definitely probably the best plot and story because it's mostly like a mystery, but it's also a love story, and it's just one of those books where you kind of have to piece together what's happening and what happened in the past, and it all comes to light, like what really happened, and all of this mystery is finally solved in the end. There's so much character development and I just love the main character, and there's so many things that you can analyse about this book as well, like so many different bits and pieces that make up just how good this novel is, and you get what I mean if you read it. Without a doubt, like, it's just famous for a reason and it deserves all of the love that it gets, and it deserves to be known as like a modern classic or a classic because it's just so amazing, and you need to go and read it if you haven't already because I need somebody to talk about this with, but I need to go back and reread this 100% because I think that I would probably love it even more for the second time. So the second book that I want to mention is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I absolutely love this book, and I know that everybody really's read this on BookTube, and it's one of those classics that's kind of like, oh yeah, everybody's read that, but it doesn't take away how good that book is. Like, it's such a good book and one of my favourite romances that's ever been written in that. Like, I love Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy. Like, whenever I was reading that, like, I just remember loving Mr. Darcy to bits. Like, I absolutely loved him, and the characters are so well written in that. Like, even though there's so many different characters in that book, Jane Austen writes in a way that you get to know what each individual character is like, and that's amazing to be able to do that whenever there's so many different characters, because a lot of the times whenever there's that many characters in another book, it just feels like there's too many and you can't get to know any of them because there's just too many, but you get to know every single character and what every single character is like and what their traits are, and I just think that's absolutely amazing. Not only that, but it's so funny and obviously so well written. I absolutely love it and it's always stuck with me even though I read it a couple of years ago, so I definitely consider it one of my all-time favourites. Like, I absolutely love it. The reason why I don't have a physical copy with me now is because I have this big book and it's just a collection of all of Jane Austen's novels, and I just didn't want to hold like this big massive book up in the video, but I do have all of her books in a physical copy. So the third book that I'm going to mention that I absolutely love is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I absolutely love this book and I cried my eyes out for a week after I finished this book. Like, I'm not exaggerating, like, it was a week. I know that a lot of people actually don't like this book, and that is like mysterious to me. Like, I don't know how you could not like this book because I think it's absolutely perfect, and it's another one that I just need to reread. Like, I don't know why I haven't reread any of these yet, even though I consider it my favourites, but I feel like there's just certain books that you know you'll always love and that will always be your favourites, and all of these are 100% some of my all-time favourite books. Like no matter what, like I am 100% whenever I reread it that I'll only love them more, not less. But I absolutely love this book, and I think Charlotte Bronte is just such a good writer. Like obviously I absolutely love the Bronte sisters and I've read loads of their books, like I really do love them. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I always say that this is my favourite classic. I know like people will be like, oh no, that doesn't really count because that's a modern classic, but I just kind of put them in the same bracket because like they're still classics. I absolutely love this book and I loved Holden Caulfield with all of my heart, and I thought he was so lovable and hilarious, and I just loved this book whenever I read it. Like it was so simple but so good. I actually don't know if I would consider this my #1 favourite of all time anymore, even though I say that a lot. I feel like each of my favourite classics were good for different reasons, and I don't think that I could put this at the #1 top because it's very different to like things like Jane Eyre and Rebecca. Like even Jane Eyre and Rebecca are very different, but I love them each for different reasons, and I don't think that I would put this at my #1 favourite anymore, even though I do always say it, and always like if somebody asked me what's your favourite book, I would say The Catcher in the Rye. But I think I'm gonna have to change that and say like, oh, I don't have a favourite, like I have a couple. Anyway, this is what I do often consider my top favourite, but as I said, the rest of the stuff. I absolutely love J.D. Salinger. He is my favourite author because I've read everything by him, and I absolutely love Franny and Zooey as well by him. That's another one of my favourites. To be honest, I just love like every single book I read. Like I always just say everything's amazing and like genius and all because I just can't help myself. Like I always just say everything's amazing and it's so bad. Like I just think everything's good. But I absolutely love this book. As I said, I loved Holden Caulfield and he's the main thing about this. Like Holden Caulfield is what makes it good. If you don't like Holden Caulfield, you're not going to like this book because it's just basically walking around with him in his daily life for a while, and if you don't like the person who's walking around, then you're not going to like the book. But I think that it's the best dialogue that I've ever read as well. Like just what the characters speak like, I think it's fantastic, and I think that's one of the best things about J.D. Salinger. I just think the characters are so realistic and so funny, and the way that he can get inside a character's head and just have them like as such like unique characters, it just amazes me, and I love this book so much. Please read it if you haven't already, but I do know that a lot of people hate this. Like I know that's kind of like you either love it or hate it kind of book, but personally I absolutely love it. So the fifth and final book that I'm going to mention today is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I love this book not really for the story. I mean, I do love the story, but more for the characters and analysing those characters. I did this book at A-level English and I just had the best time analysing it, and some of the quotes in this are some of my favourite quotes of all time. Like I could still quote loads of different bits in this book because it's just so amazing, and I've reread loads of different bits in this book but never like fully reread it. But there's so many different individual scenes in this book that you just will never be able to forget. Like if you read this book, you will never be able to get certain scenes out of your head, and it's just amazing for that. Like everything just adds up and makes sense, and there is not one sentence in this book that doesn't mean something. Everything adds to the story and everything adds to the characters, and the characters' upbringing, you get to see them when they're children, and you get to see how their upbringing affects them whenever they become adults, and how they affect each other as they grow up, and how their surroundings affect them and how they end up behaving. And that's what I loved so much about this book, just seeing how much effort Emily Bronte put into writing this story and how much she loved her characters, because you can see that she loved the characters. And Heathcliff's character, I absolutely love him. I love Heathcliff with all of my heart, and I'm the person who hates Catherine Earnshaw. Like I absolutely hate her. I think it's absolutely genius, one of the best books literally of all time. I absolutely love it, and I know that I'll always love this no matter what because it's just so good. Like genuinely, I absolutely love it. So that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching and you found it interesting finding out what classics I love. As I said, you probably already know that I love loads of these because I have talked about them loads before on my channel. There's also some that I haven't actually explicitly mentioned are my all-time favourites before. So if you have read any of these books, or if you really want to read any of these books, then please let me know all of your thoughts in the comments, because I absolutely love talking about classics, especially. Like there's just something so good talking about classics because you can get into so much detail. So definitely let me know if you'd like to talk about any of these books, because I would be 100% happy to do so. I need to reread every single one on this list, like I do know that, but I am going to get to that eventually, and I'm so excited for that because I am going to start making my way through rereading everything that I want to reread, and I am just so excited to read these again because I absolutely love them all with all of my heart. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and please like if you would like to see the part 2, because if nobody wants to see the part 2 then I probably won't make it. But yeah, please like if you do want to see that, and also subscribe if you did like watching this video because I would really appreciate that. Like, it just makes me so happy. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.